How's it going, everybody? Aaron Smith here for Forward Gettysburg. Thank you guys so much for joining me. On today's episode, I have a rather ambitious episode planned for you all. We are going to make sense of the action in the Wheatfield. There are going to be, by the end of July 2nd, 10 Union brigades, 6 Confederate brigades, nearly 20,000 men engaged within 26 acres of wheat here south of the town of Gettysburg. By the evening of July 2nd, 1863, 6,000 of those 20,000 men will be casualties. This scene is one of the most confusing, most complex actions to take place here at Gettysburg. So it is a little ambitious for me and a little bit challenging, but I'm up to the challenge. We're going to make sense of the action that happened here in the Wheatfield. So let's orient ourselves just a little bit here before we get into the exciting action here on July 2nd, 1863. Behind me to the west, that is an area known as Stony Hill. Just off to the south here, there's a stone wall that runs east from west on the south edge of the Wheatfield. Beyond that is going to be the west branch of Plum Run. Also, the Rose Farm is going to be just off in the distance. To the east of us is going to be the Rose Woods. Also, further to the east is going to be Little Round Top, Plum Run, Houck's Ridge, and Devil's Den. And then to the north, right where that wooden fence is running, that is going to be the Wheatfield Road, a road that was here during the time of the Battle of Gettysburg. So, we know July 2nd in the afternoon, Dan Sickles has moved his 3rd Corps forward from its original position along Cemetery Ridge. Meanwhile, General Longstreet is preparing for an assault that is supposed to guide up the Emmitsburg Road. The brigade that is supposed to cover this area of the field, that is supposed to cover the Wheatfield in Sickles' line, is going to be under Colonel Regis de Trobriand, a Frenchman. And if you get out here and you get to the field, and I highly recommend everybody get to the field of Gettysburg, walk the field, you really understand, there is an overwhelming sense of isolation out here in the Wheatfield. You have no idea what's happening to the west. You have no idea what's happening to the east. And you have no idea what's happening to the south, except what you can see directly in front of you. So de Trobriand's brigade is set up here. 2 regiments are going to be on the Stony Hill. There's going to be a regiment of Mainers, the 17th Maine. They're going to be posted just off of Stony Hill. Longstreet launches his attack. Law's brigade, Robertson's brigade, they make for Big Round Top and Devil's Den. And now we have cannon fire coming from the east. The fight is raging up. De Trobriand, worried about this position, worried about the attack that is going on to his east, he's going to move the 17th Maine up to that stone wall. He's going to move his 2 other regiments, the 110th PA and the 5th Michigan. He's going to move them to face the south. And as he does that, now we have Tige Anderson's Georgian Brigade and Benning's Georgian Brigade attacking in this area. They're going to attack through the Rose Woods just over there, right where those cars are at right now. They're attacking through there, and the 17th Maine is going to cling onto that stone wall for dear life. That is probably the best stone wall they had ever seen in their life up to that point. Now, elsewhere on the field, to the north and to the east, Sykes' divisions, Sykes' 5th Corps divisions are making their way. They're right about at the Taneytown Road. They're somewhere there where the modern-day Taneytown Road and Wheatfield Road intersect. So they are right over there, and they are making their way towards this part of the field. This part of the field is in trouble. It needs support. Barnes's division, the lead element, the vanguard of Sykes' corps, they're going to make their way to this area. But first, the brigade that's in the front under Colonel Strong Vincent, they're going to make their way toward Little Round Top and into the halls of American history. Meanwhile, Tilton and Schweitzer's brigade, they are making their way to this area to reinforce de Trobriand. Now those Confederates at Devil's Den to our east, they are crushing the Union line there. Meanwhile, Tilton and Schweitzer, they're going to come up and they're going to take positions there on the Stony Hill. And they're going to help create a line that is facing to the south, running from east to west, with the 17th Maine along that stone wall on the very far left flank. And now we have Robertson's Texans, elements of Robertson's Texan Brigade, the 3rd Arkansas, the 1st Texas. They're making their way through the woods. We have Benning's Georgians and we have Anderson's Georgians attacking this position as well. As the rebels make their assault from the south, heading toward the north, attacking the brigades posted here in the Stony Hill and the Wheatfield along that stone wall, Winslow's battery is going to come up and they're going to provide supporting fire and pound away at the Confederates. And the first Confederate attack upon the Wheatfield is repulsed. The Wheatfield remains in Union hands. So the Confederates, they're going to fall back and they're going to regroup. Meanwhile, they're going to be bolstered by the appearance of Kershaw's enormous brigade of South Carolinians. There's going to be a little bit of a lull in the action. Both sides are going to regroup, reform, and then Kershaw is going to launch his part of the attack. Now, Longstreet's attack on day 2 is going to fire off an echelon, one of the great French terms that American military has borrowed from the French during this time. They're going to launch in echelon. One part of the attack will attack first. Then the next part of the attack will attack second. The next part of the attack will attack third. The idea is that you send your enemy running to find reinforcements, to reinforce parts of the line that are under attack, so that by the time your attack makes its way down the line, eventually it's going to break through and be successful. So this is kind of Longstreet's plan on July 2nd. So next we have Kershaw's brigade of South Carolinians. And Kershaw is going to attack from the area of the Rose Farm. And Kershaw is going to split his brigade into 2. 3 regiments are going to head toward the north. They're going to head toward the Peach Orchard. 3 more regiments are going to head toward the south, toward Stony Hill, toward the Wheatfield area. Now, Kershaw's 3 regiments that are headed to the north, they're going to face terrifying artillery fire. There is a line of no less than 5 Union batteries along the Wheatfield Road, and that area that they're attacking through, that field that's between the Stony Hill and the Peach Orchard, it is directly in the sights of the Union guns. So they're going to face a very heavy fire. And then on top of that, Kershaw is going to order 2 regiments to the south to wheel to the right. However, that order is going to mistakenly make its way to the 3 regiments to the north, and those 3 regiments are going to wheel to the right, presenting their left flank to the Union batteries, and they are going to face an absolutely horrifying fire in their flank. Canister shot and shell is going to absolutely devastate the ranks of Kershaw's South Carolinians. The 8th South Carolina, the 3rd South Carolina Battery, and the 2nd South Carolina. As they make that wheeling motion, they're now coming into the flank. They're coming into the rear of Tilton and Schweitzer's brigade there upon Stony Hill. Yes, they're taking artillery fire, but it's still enough to put those Union brigades in the Stony Hill area. It's enough to raise red flags for them there. It's enough to get them a little bit excited. Oh crap, they're headed for our rear. And in a strange, nearly simultaneous action, Barnes is going to order the 4th Michigan and the 62nd Pennsylvania from facing to the west, where they could greet Kershaw's oncoming South Carolinians, to face to the south. To face to the south near the stone wall where the 17th Maine is, to fight Anderson's Georgians. Barnes, Divisional Commander Barnes, thinks that the immediate threat is coming from the south, and he's going to send troops there. So when this action occurs, it's going to make the men on Stony Hill very, very nervous. They no longer have any regiments facing to the west to engage with Kershaw's 3 lost regiments there that are taking incredible artillery fire. Even though they're under artillery fire, just their presence is enough to really, really put those Union troops on edge. Now Tilton is going to realize that Kershaw's men are near the rear, and he's going to think they're making for his rear, and he's going to voice his concerns to Barnes, and Barnes is going to tell Tilton that you may withdraw your men if you deem it necessary. By this point, Kershaw's 3 regiments to the north, they are absolutely devastated by the artillery fire of that Union line running along the Wheatfield Road, and they're going to fall back to the rear. They're going to fall back near the Rose Farm to try to regroup. Now, as all this is going on, there's going to be another brigade of Confederates, a brigade of Georgians under Semmes, and they're going to make their way to the Rosewoods and stop just short of the action going on here at the Wheatfield. Meanwhile, they're waiting for more troops of the 5th Corps. They're waiting for Ayres's division of U.S. regulars. There's one brigade under Stephen Weed that are volunteers, but the other 2 brigades are the U.S. regular troops, the professional soldiers of the Army of the Potomac. They are waiting for their arrival. Now the 3rd South Carolina and the 7th South Carolina under Kershaw, they're putting the pressure on the Stony Hill, and soon Tilton is going to order a withdrawal. His men are going to withdraw. Seeing that there are no more men on his right, Schweitzer is going to begin to fall back as well. Now we only have that small brigade of about 1,300 men under de Trobriand here at the Wheatfield to defend this area, to defend against 3 or 4 oncoming Confederate brigades in the immediate vicinity. De Trobriand's brigade, no doubt tired at this point from all the fighting, they're going to put up a very valiant stand. They're going to fall back. They're going to fall back to the crest of the hill near Winslow's battery, what I showed you earlier. They're going to fall back there and fire and charge, and there will be countercharges from the Confederates, and they're going to put up a very, very valiant and heroic stand here in the Wheatfield. And much to their relief, here comes Caldwell's 2nd Corps Division of the Army of the Potomac, who were previously posted in the area of South Cemetery Ridge. They are coming through. We have the brigades of Kelly, Cross, Zook, Brooke. That's my favorite little ditty to say. Kelly, Cross, Zook, Brooke, Kelly, Cross, Zook, Brooke. They are making their way. Brooks's brigade is going to be in reserve. The 1st brigade to hit the Wheatfield is going to be Cross. Cross's brigade will hit the Wheatfield, followed by Zook and Kelly. Zook's men are going to run into the tired, exhausted men of Tilton's brigade who have retreated. And the men, they're going to get jumbled up. And Zook is rumored to say, if you can't get your men out of the way, have them laid down and we will step over them. And according to some sources, that's exactly what they did. Zook's brigade is going to step over the tired, exhausted survivors of Tilton's brigade. Those 2nd Corps brigades that are hitting this area, they're going to slowly begin to drive out the Confederates. We have Anderson's Georgians who have now taken that stone wall. We have Kershaw's regiments up there behind me on the Stony Hill. They're going to start to drive and push those men out and retake this area for the Union. However, as they're starting to reclaim this area and put it back into federal hands, there is action happening to the north. Now, like I told you, this is a rather isolated area. You can stand out here and you have no idea there is a farm and a peach orchard off in that direction. You have no idea that there is a collection of large boulders just off in that direction. So it's isolated here. And the men of the 2nd Corps that are retaking this Wheatfield, they don't realize that just to their west, the next phase of Longstreet's echelon attack is launching. And we have the charge of Barksdale's Mississippians and then Wofford's Georgians. And those men are going to crush the salient at the peach orchard. They are going to absolutely smash that Union line and start to drive those men back. So now Barksdale has cleared the way, cleared the line of defenders along the Emmitsburg Road, keeping any attacks coming from the west. Has cleared that line. Union artillery, they're sent retreating back in incredibly heroic and incredible last-ditch efforts to stall for time. Those men are falling back towards the Trossel farm. Barksdale's brigade of Mississippians has cleared that area, and now Wofford's men start to head to the south toward the Stony Hill. Now, as that fighting is intensifying along the Sherfy Peach Orchard, along the Emmitsburg Road, Ayres's division of U.S. regulars is going to arrive. The first brigade of regulars to arrive is going to be Burbank's brigade, and they're going to take a line stretching all the way from Houck's Ridge over to Wheatfield Road. And then behind him, lined up almost by a regiment, is going to be Hannibal Burbank's brigade. Now, at this time for the Army of the Potomac in this area, the situation has somewhat stabilized. The 2nd Corps, that division under Caldwell, they've come in, retaken the area. Not only that, they've received reinforcements from the U.S. regulars as well. So the situation is somewhat stable. Now we have Brooks's brigade that was once held in reserve. They're going to charge forward, and they're going to start to drive Anderson's men out of the woods. Meanwhile, the Irish brigade and Zook, they are driving Kershaw's South Carolinians off of Stony Hill. They are making their final push. And as Brooke charges forward, it's said that that charge was so heroic that the other men are going to charge forward. And finally, the Confederate presence is going to be cleared from Stony Hill and from the Wheatfield. However, like I said, just off to the west, Barksdale, his assault has cleared the way for Wofford's brigade to make its way over to the east here toward the Stony Hill and the Wheatfield. Not only that, but it seems like Semmes's brigade has finally woken up, and they're making their way through the Rosewoods area, and they too are making directly for this area. With Wofford moving in from the west towards Stony Hill and more Confederate attackers coming from the south area, the 2nd Corps divisions now realize they are nearly surrounded. So they're going to fight a withdrawal. They're going to fall back from the Wheatfield, from the Stony Hill. They realize this is a hopeless position. As they do that, Schweitzer's brigade, who saw action earlier in the Wheatfield, they're going to make their way here to help in that withdrawal, and they're going to take positions here in the Wheatfield. As Schweitzer moves his troops down here, as his troops take position, Day is going to do an incredibly large left-wheeling motion with his entire brigade, and they're going to begin to sweep the Wheatfield here. However, realize they are still somewhat surrounded. Wofford's men they are now on the Stony Hill. Kershaw's men, they have regrouped, they have rejoined this attack. We have Anderson, we have Semmes attacking from the south. This area is nearly surrounded. So as Day makes his sweeping wheeling motion here, he's going to face fire from several directions. He's going to face fire from the south, and even more devastating, he's going to face fire from the Stony Hill area. Outside of Schweitzer's brigade, Day's brigade is going to take the most casualties here in the Wheatfield. Nearly 48% of the brigade are going to be killed, wounded, captured, or missing here on July 2nd, 1863. As Day moves his men in the sweeping motion, Burbank is going to fill in the position that Day just previously held. The Confederates continue to come to this area, continue to assault, and now the Union forces, they are taking fire from nearly 3 directions. There is a terrible fire going on here against the Union infantry, and it is going to be too much. Schweitzer's brigade is going to pull out. Day's brigade, they are going to retake that position that they held. By this time, the fighting in the Wheatfield has gone on for nearly 3 hours. Nightfall is quickly approaching. This area is littered with the bodies of the dead and wounded, crying out for help, for water, for their mothers, for their family, for their home. Like I said at the beginning of the program, there are going to be combined nearly 16 brigades engaged in the action within these 26 acres of wheat. 20,000 men, nearly 3 times the size of modern-day Gettysburg, will make their way and fight in this area, make their way and fight in the Stony Hill. 6,000 of them, just shy of the population of modern-day Gettysburg, will be casualties of the fighting here in the bloody Wheatfield at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This episode was a little bit of a personal challenge for myself. I wanted to try to make sense of some of the most complex fighting in Gettysburg and fit it all within a video. So hopefully you guys will understand a little bit more about the fighting in the Wheatfield. When you drive by, you'll realize, oh, this just wasn't a real simple kind of battle or action that occurred here. There was some complex, nuanced actions that took place in this Wheatfield. There was a lot of heroism. There was a lot of carnage. There was a lot of glory that happened within these 26 acres of wheat. I appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you so much for watching. You guys keep watching. I'm going to keep making great Gettysburg content. As always, my name is Aaron Smith, and this is Forward Gettysburg, and I will catch you on the next one.